Hi everybody, this is Mindy Eggen and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about using your alcohol markers in more of a non-traditional way. And what I mean by that is we will not be doing any blending, which is what you typically see when people use alcohol markers. It is a very easy and stress-free technique that also gives a nice abstract look. My video today is inspired by Jana Smakula, who does this quite often on her YouTube channel. The stamp set that I'm going to be using today for this technique is the Spring Bouquet stamp set from Gina Designs. It has this very large cluster that I'm going to be coloring in. I also stamped the other one, but I will be coloring that kind of more off screen as it's using the same technique. These images are stamped in the Gina Designs Obsidian ink, which is Copic friendly, and I did let it dry for a little while so that the ink doesn't smear. Now, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going in and coloring all the leaves with my lightest color. I'm coloring the entire area. That lightest color was YG00. Next, I'm going to come in with my medium color, which is YG06, and I'm only coloring part of it. So I'm going up quite a ways on the leaf, but leaving kind of a skinny strip of that lightest color. I am using 3 color combinations for my coloring today of the leaves and also the flowers, and they don't have to match or be right next to each other in the color chart, which is what I normally would look for when coloring in my leaves. When you kind of have colors that are next to each other like YG00 or 03 and 06, it's easier to blend the colors. But when you find more drastic color combinations, that's actually more helpful because we don't want it to blend, we wanted to have more of this abstract look. My last color for the leaves here is going to be G17. Now this color combination I've actually used to do blending, but this is really nice because all I'm doing is adding a line of that darkest color. I'm not blending it out. And I do prefer to let my ink kind of sink in and dry on the paper before adding my colors. That just helps give it that abstract look a little bit more. Typically, when I'm doing my Copic coloring, I like to work in really small sections because I want the ink to be wet on the paper for blending purposes. It just helps blend a little better when the inks are still wet. But in this case and this technique, we do not have to worry about that. I moved on to my floral images and I'm coloring all of the flowers in this lightest color, which is BV31. Next, I'm going to work on coloring just the small flowers. And for this, I'm going to work on my mid-tone color, and that color is going to be BV13. So here I'm starting from the center and working my way out towards the edge of the tips. I kind of drew a line there. That's how I started. I'm going to do it a little differently when I get to the bigger flowers, but this still works fine. I just drew a little line up there so I knew my stopping point with my mid-tone. And then I'm going to come in with that darkest color, which is BV17. Once again, start from the middle, work out a little ways, but I still want to show that gradual transition between all of the colors. Now coming back to my larger flowers and to that mid-tone color, which is the BV13, this one I was starting to get the hang of it because honestly, this is the first time I've really colored anything like this. So for this mid-tone color, I start from the center, work my way out, but my ending point is following the shape of that particular petal. So I don't have kind of quite that swoopy line that I did on the smaller flowers. I'm just kind of, like I said, following the line of the edge of those petals. Now you can see as I'm finishing up this large flower with the mid-tone color, this is really starting to come together. It has this beautiful abstract look, and we have a really nice highlight area at the end of those petals. Now I can come in with my darkest color, which is going to be that BV17 again, and same process, just starting from the center of that petal and working my way out. So I am still working in small sections. I'm doing each petal individually. Some areas are going to get quite small. If you start to lose your highlight area, you can always bring in a white colored pencil and just lightly go over those highlight areas to help brighten it back up. Now, although I am using my Copic markers to do this, you can try this technique with any type of alcohol marker that you may have on hand. I think it is a wonderful technique. It's a great way to dig out your Copic markers, and it really is a stress-free technique. You can grab this, sit in front of the TV, watch a movie, and just work on coloring. After I have that completely colored in, I'm going to use the coordinating die to die cut out that image and also the smaller bouquet, which I'll save for a later date. I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock that is cut to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I'm placing that in my Misti tool and lining up about where my image would go, so that way I could place my sentiment in the right spot. This sentiment comes from the Succulent Spray stamp set. I'm going to use a grid transparency to help me line this up straight, and I'm just looking at it with the bottom of the word you. Then I can pick that sentiment up with the door of my Misti, remove that transparency, and I can stamp this in the Obsidian ink. I'm going to stamp it twice to make sure I have a really solid stamped sentiment here. And then I have a piece of double-sided foam sheets that I'm trimming down to just a little bit smaller than my card panel. I'm going to add it to the back of this panel. And then I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to add my die cut image to the front of this just using a tape roller. Then I'll be able to trim off any excess before I add it to my actual card base. After I go ahead and trim off any of that excess, I'll remove the backing of that double-sided foam sheet and add this to a card front I created with Whisper Cardstock. So it's just a really nice light gray to keep everything on the focal point, which is the image and the sentiment. So after I have this finished up, I'm going to bring in another image that I had colored. And this one is using some really, really light colors. I don't remember exactly which colors I used, but it is a similar technique, only using two colors and pretty much only coloring more towards the inside of each petal. Still another beautiful look, but it's just more of on the pastel side. That finishes up my card project for today. I hope you enjoyed today's technique and will give this a try. It really is a lot of fun and such amazing results. All of the supplies will be listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. Here are a few other videos I think you might enjoy.